With the order by the Supreme Court that IEBC conducts a fresh presidential election within 60 days and the subsequent postponement of the same by IEBC from the 17th of October to 26th of October, the country has been left pondering over a possibility of a fresh election, failing to materialize within the stipulated timeline. On Wednesday, Siaya Senator James Orengo, who was Raila Odinga's lead counsel in the presidential petition at the Supreme Court, appeared to intimate that the country was headed for a constitutional crisis, arguing that the temporary incumbency expires after the expiry of 60 days.
Articles 138 to 140, you will find that the president, when not constitutionally in office, there would be a requirement that you have an acting president who is not the incumbent president.
After 1st November, there will be no President Uhuru. What the Constitution then provides for, and you can read it very carefully, is a provision that then makes the Speaker of the National Assembly a caretaker president for 90 days to have elections.
But Attorney General Githu Muigai, the chief legal advisor to the government, has dispelled the fears, saying President Kenyatta will continue serving as president until a new president is sworn in.
There is no room for doubt as to what the Constitution provides. From the day a general election is declared to the day a fresh or a new president or a re-elected president is sworn in, government continues without lacuna, without any void.
Muigai, who also legally serves as the custodian of the rule of law, says President Kenyatta still wields executive authority within the 60 days and even after the timelines, as long as the country has not sworn in a new president.
The President of the Republic of Kenya continues to enjoy full executive authority, including the powers bestowed on him as the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces.
The powers of a president will, however, be limited under Article 134, the basis of a temporary incumbency.
The appointment of judges, the nomination of persons to constitutional offices, the dismissal of cabinet secretaries or other public officers, the nomination or appointment of high commissioners, the power of mercy, and the conferment of honors.
In the AG's legal opinion, the Constitution does not provide for the position of a caretaker government after the expiry of 60 days.
This is what Article 3 of the Constitution provides. Every person has an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend this Constitution. But Article 3.2 is even more important. Any attempt to establish a government otherwise than in compliance with this Constitution is unlawful. Any attempt to establish any form of government other than in compliance with this Constitution is declared by the Constitution unlawful. I want to finalize, therefore, by saying there is no government known to the Constitution of Kenya called a transitional government or a caretaker government or any other form of government other than that is defined in this Constitution.
However, if the election is not conducted within the 60 days, the AG submits that the Supreme Court can be petitioned to extend the timeline to conduct the fresh presidential election.
Then the election must be held on a day following that is appointed by the Electoral Commission, guided by the Supreme Court and the other organs. That is to say, the constitutionality of the governance structure in Kenya is not affected by the failure to act on that specific day.
As regards the decision of the IEBC's gazettement of President Kenyatta and NASA leader Raila Odinga being the sole candidates in the fresh presidential poll, the Attorney General says Commission Chairperson Wafula Chebukati was simply abiding with the 2013 Supreme Court interpretation as regards a fresh election.
My understanding is that yesterday, what the Chief Justice did by requesting one of the candidates to raise the issue before the High Court is that he was recognizing that the Supreme Court has pronounced itself on the matter conclusively. It is not compulsory that any of the parties who initially put his name forward must participate. As you know, there are many candidates who ultimately don't show up on election day. Nor, to my knowledge, no election has ever been invalidated on the basis of where was the other party on election day.
It is a question that is threatening to tear the country right in the middle. The question being, what will happen if the election is not conducted within 60 days and if there will be an ensuing constitutional crisis? And it's one question that is likely to find itself in the courts of law as a subject of interpretation, but one that the Attorney General insists is a no-brainer and that there will be no political or constitutional crisis. Reporting for Channel 1 News, my name is John Jacob Curia.